Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I did. That's not with donuts. Because different lifestyle.
Scenic for bringing the third year with Shabbos or with Shabbos working. Surprised, however, father-in-law Frida, I would have a malava malava.
Would you like some coffee?
And exception.
He made a great. Mention a word about the Rebbe's father-in-law. Suddenly, on Thursday night, their Shabbos, he was overwhelmed with his father-in-law said, let's go to the Rebbe again. Why do you want to go? Nothing is so true. Not except by the Rebbe. But I was moved by the Malka. You were in a home with a dozen casinos for 2 hours. And I couldn't tell who was the toast and who were the guests. Who were the hosts, who was the host, and who were the guests. The Rebbe can engender such among his casinos. I want to be one of his followers. Happy birthday. I know. We did done that. 20, 30 minutes. What?
I experienced it the whole You know what I love?
You have
I told my phone. What is this? Oh, you told me filter to be and then you threw it away.
Hashem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I get that?
I'm glad I made it. I had to take my daughter this morning to orthodontist.
Thank you everyone for coming early today for the beautiful minion. Thank you.
Yeah, nice.
2 million.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we're coming like a land house over here.
No, they wait
This
for
one.
one after another.
Hey, if someone could take and pass these printouts, if you would like them. Okay. I'm gonna need to leave around 11 o'clock, and I hope I finish to get as much information out as possible. Okay, so there is.
Rabbi says it every week.
Right.
If you don't say it, we're gonna feel very.
Hayom Katzer v'amlachim
That's okay. I'd rather not.
I've seen this on video.
See, come more often. See, YouTube.
I saw it on the video. Maybe I should get one.
You know how people sometimes talk to both sides of the mouth?
Yes, how are you?
Good, BH, how are you?
Yes, was good. Really good.
Never heard people talk to both sides of the mouth. When just to get everyone their minds fresh, there's a Hashgacha Pratis story that happened to me last night and this morning. I was listening to while I was preparing the shir, so I was also listening to another shir, another topic, and trying to figure out if I should give a shir on that topic or this topic. But it all worked out. It's kind of funny, but Baruch Hashem. So what happened? He has more copies. So there's a person in Crown Heights that works in Hatzalah that gave a shir. It was probably a few weeks. It seems like it was a few weeks ago, probably before the beginning of Nisan. So it's about a month ago. He was giving a shir in a Kollel about the halachas of a Kollel on Shabbos. If a person needs to do certain things on Shabbos because of Pikuach Nefesh, the different levels and the different scenarios. And he said a lot of misconceptions that we have that we think is true are really misconceptions, and we need to know them, and they're very important to know. So one of the things he was saying was about stitches. He said that there's certain parts of the body, stitches need to be done within 6 or 8 hours from when the cut is done, so that there's no infection, and infections could end up being very serious. He said, for example, his father passed away from an infection that grew to the entire body. So obviously it's a serious issue. So certain parts of the body take 6 or 8 hours. So as long as you put pressure on the cut, it'll stop bleeding. And within 6 to 8 hours, it needs to be, if there needs to be stitches, that's the time period that is needed. So because of that, let's say if Chas V'Shalom, someone would get a gut Friday night, so they need to make sure to call even to Hatzalah, to even go to the doctor, not even to go to the hospital, but at least to call some sort of Hatzalah member to even go check out if it even needs to go to the hospital. So that's that. But then in certain parts of the body is, let's say, the face, which actually there's like the person will be bleeding more, or there would be more blood gushing out, but because of that, somehow it doesn't. It's less of a chance of there being not less of a chance, but it takes longer for the infection to be put together. So that's about 24 hours, so that you don't have to. But so that was one thing that he gave a share. So as I was listening to it, it seemed interesting, but I didn't look into the sources, so it didn't come up that share. So then this morning, I wake up from my son, my 2-year-old son screaming, and he fell down and he got a cut on his chin. So I looked at the cut. So right away I was thinking, okay, so what we need to do is put pressure on the cut, so it doesn't continue bleeding. But after that we have a certain time period to go to the doctor to get the stitches. So right away, right after, even though it didn't even come to Shir, even the story itself, even just learning it the next day, I already implemented. If not, I wouldn't have known, or I would have maybe gotten really scared because, how am I supposed to know what's going on? And then the other kids also get freaked out by me being scared about it. But because of this year, it was able to be handled. And,
so how do you know whether or not to wait 24 hours and just call the hospital? Call
Hatzalah, and then you'll know.
Oh, so you call the teller.
No, the 24 hours. No, because it wasn't. It was on the chin. It wasn't on the face.
Yeah,
the face it takes long. The face it takes a longer period of time. But in other places, let's say the hands, the feet.
I think that's very dangerous to leave that up to the person to decide because every situation is different.
Right. He also said that there was a certain article that was written that's actually, he said that the website is very good. He didn't mention the website, but there was this website that has different halachic issues that are brought up, and then they go through the details to come to the crystallization of the whole issue. So they said something that one of the things that is very well, it's not important, but he said that there was a certain thing that was written on the web page that could negate, it could be really, really dangerous if it's actually implemented. And he actually sent a letter sent an email to the person that wrote the article, hopefully to change it. But he said that people really don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, so it's very important to just call and just call and as Reb Chaim Brisker, a lot of us say that he's not being meichel on Shabbos, he's being machmer in pikuach nefesh. Right, the Rebbe actually has a beautiful sikha, a sikha, which I think it was in Project Look at the Sikhas last year, which it was implemented a few years ago. Learning 2 sikhas or 3 sikhas every week to be finish the entire Look at the Sikhas within a few years. So there was this sikha where the Rebbe explains why pikuach nefesh is spoken about with regards to Shabbos. The reason is because Shabbos is a ice. It's a way of showing that we are different than the rest of humans. We are Jews. So that's because we are special. We are unique. So that's pikuach nefesh is that we are so important, and therefore it's teicha Shabbos. So that's by it being implemented in the halachas of Shabbos that explains to us what pikuach nefesh is in the first place. Okay, so after this whole introduction, everyone's eating Baruch Hashem and a little satiated, able to use their head a little more. So now let's get into the shir. So we heard yesterday and we learned in Chitas in the Shnai Mikra, we learned a few things in the parsha which through the ages have been dealt with in different ways. So there's this pasuk, we should not anymore give a korban to the seirim because they push us away. They push us away from Hashem. There's no point in doing it. Okay, so first of all, what is seirim? It's an interesting question. So sifra, right there, he writes away, he says, Ein seirim ela sheidim. Seirim, when it says seirim means sheidim, means demons. That's what seirim means, and we'll explain in Ibn Ezra, and we'll go a little further, explain what's the connection between seirim and sheidim. And
when you look at the occult today, the satanic whatever, it's usually like with the horns with a goat. Yeah, is that what it is?
Very good. It's very interesting. Also, we'll get to Mitzrayim, and we'll go through why it's even called the goat and everything. Yeah, very interesting. Even till today, everything's the same.
Hollywood.
You think there was Rabbi Hanukkah. There was some person that would go to different colleges. Some chassid of the Rebbe that he's like had a doctor, a professor, PhD, very important person in academia, and he said that college students think that their questions are so crucial. That's really no one came up with a new question yet. Like I said, like when he was in college, like all the questions about why do bad things happen to good people and all these different questions are just they're all the same. It's just that people have the question and they're asked. Okay, so this is going on for thousands of years. This whole issue with demons. So okay, so Seirim is Shaidim. Why? Because it's Seirim Irak Tasham. Yeshaya said that was speaking about Babel, that the Seirim, that the demons run around over there. Okay, so Evan Ezra on this pasuk of Vayikra says that the reason why they're called Seirim because they make the person shake when the person sees a demon, they start shivering. Okay.
Well, we can't see them. We can't see them though. Maybe there are those who could.
You need to get a cat, right?
We'll see.
Maybe they still.
We'll
get what does anyone think? Anyone believes here of anyone thinks demons exist?
Yeah, of course.
There is such a thing, but we can't
For
see
sure,
them.
demons exist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gemara
Gemara
says.
says.
Yeah.
Okay, so does everyone concur? Everyone. Well, if it says in Gemara. So the Rambam. So the Rambam. Anyone agrees with the Rambam? Anyone thinks the Rambam?
We don't always pass like the Rambam, but we do.
The Gra doesn't agree with the Rambam. But then what do we do? Like imagine you would think, okay, so I have questions. I don't know what to do. Let me go to people that are very, very smart. They know Kollel, like, I mean, imagine if you would go to the RIshon, to the, what's it called? When in the times of the Gemara, really till today, really you have it the same thing, that all the Gedolei Hader would sit together in one room or in a certain place, and they would sit and argue and come up with a solution. That's really where a lot of the Gemara is from. This person says this, that person that. So how do we even know what they were saying? Because they would just sit next to each other, and they would sit and learn at home during the year, and then once a year or however many times a year they would come together in whichever city it was, and they would sit and talk it through. So you would think, okay, if I go to such a symposium, like I'll know what I'm talking. I'll finally know. But thank you. Like you ever open a Gemara, you have to know, like there's a reason why there's a Shulchan Aruch, because you need to know Gemara very, very well in order to even extrapolate a maskana, like what actually to do, because that also, and even in Teku, there's we still know what to do.
It's so complicated.
I thought you usually according to the Beisero. That's how.
Not always.
No, most of the time, no.
There's a lot of other stuff.
Most. So good. So what do we do? We have to do something. We can't just do anything. What do we do? Art scroll. Huh?
That's the Google Adar.
I think what I like, at least for myself, what I like about when I learn, I like to find the truth in all the different sides to it. Like, okay, so why is this person saying that? Okay, and what about the other side? What about the other side? And then I love when you don't even get there's truth in both sides, and it never gets to the middle. Okay, so fine. So we need to make halakha. We need to actually do something, but that's a separate issue. Just the truth that there could be two opinions, and they could be both true. That's what I'm looking for. So that's what I'm going to try, and I'm not going to tell you what to think. I don't even know myself what I think. I don't even know myself what to think. I'm just going to say what this person said, what that person says, and we'll see that. I don't know. To myself, I think they all make sense. So I don't know what to do, but we'll see.
You find the emes in all of them.
Yeah, I think that's
Find
beautiful.
the truth in
Because
everyone.
then you know, it's a common thing with adult. I know for myself and my classmates, when you get to a certain point in your life, you think you're very smart. You know, like 12, 13, 14, 15, right? And then you come to class and you see this teacher, that teacher, and they tell you to do something. You tell them to sit and learn, but no, I don't think I should. I don't, you know. And this person doesn't know how to learn. That person doesn't know how to learn. I'm so much smarter. I'm so much smarter. I'm so much smarter. And I think differently. I think differently. All right. So okay, so that's what the person thinks. But the truth is that whatever you're going to come and complain about this Gemara, that Gemara, this doesn't make that doesn't make sense. There's for sure almost positive that there's someone in the Goinim period, the RIshonim, Achronim, someone asked this question and someone answers this question, and whatever question you have, there's already somewhere in Torah that already asked this. So if you think like, okay, back in the day they believed in demons, but I'm smart. Demons, they don't exist. I don't see them. They're just superstitious. And okay, so what? Okay, so Gemara says that, but okay, obviously it's just a metaphor. They would have never said such a thing. They're not, they're smart people. They can't believe in demons. And they were just being nice to people by everyone else believed in demons. So therefore Gemara needs to talk about it. But really between you and me, Rabbi Akiva didn't believe in demons, right? Rabbi Akiva is smarter than you and me, or at least me. So obviously I'm only smart a certain amount, but I know that there's no such thing as demons. And so obviously, this is what I'm saying, that there's people that think that. So, but the truth is that there's already someone that's smarter than me that already asked this question, and they already come up with such thing. They already question these things, and they already have answers, and they already say that yes, they are metaphors, and they explain the Gemara in a certain way. But this same person that comes up with these questions, this same person also says that there's Shabbos, that Shabbos is not a metaphor, that tefillin is not a metaphor. A person needs to put on tefillin, needs to keep Shabbos, needs to tire some mishpacha. These things, these halachas, they're not negotiable. So even though you think that this Gemara, that Gemara doesn't make sense, and it's all a metaphor, there's already someone within the within the framework of halacha that says these things, and he still agrees with.
Compare Shabbos to Shadim. Are Shadim a halacha in the Torah?
What's the halacha?
I don't see I agree. I'm saying the thought this thought process that someone might have, or exactly like the Rambam himself that questions the whole validity of Shadim. He himself also has the Yad HaChazaka, has Mr. Torah from the Rambam, which says that you need to believe in Hashem, you need to do Torah mitzvahs. So any question you're gonna have, there's the framework of halacha still exists. Okay.
Why is it less plausible than malachim? That's a good question.
I mean the Gra is very sharp. So about this whole, the Gra is very sharp about this. So I mean it's. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Because malachim is from another world. It's from up in the heavens, and we're talking about things that walk among us that are like unearthly. It's a little harder to make sense of it.
I mean, there's.
Somebody
I hear.
Somebody doesn't obey it, create the shin dalit.
Exactly. It's just a love emanation.
The fact that
That's what I'm saying.
the fact that
It's harder to believe something that's in the
something does not prove that it's not there.
Where?
Yeah.
I'm saying, give me an
No.
example of why you say that.
If you can't see something, that doesn't mean that it's not there.
You say Kedusha.
If you can see something,
I don't agree. I don't disagree. I just want to explain why.
Can you see Mount Everest?
What?
Can you see Mount Everest?
No, but I know
But it
it's
doesn't
there.
mean it's not there. It's still there.
That's what I'm telling
What do you
him.
mean? I could Google it.
So somebody says that they're angels. I don't think any one of us ever saw an angel, but that doesn't mean that they're not there.
So the same thing with demons. They're just a different kind of spiritual being that none of us ever saw. But if you can't prove that they don't exist just because you never saw them.
How do you prove that if they do exist?
Are you thinking right now maybe you should have given the shirt on that other topic?
No, I love this. I love this. This is one. I'm not like. I mean, there's a page here. This is not a. I want the people to be alive about.
If anything, in this world, I think you see people look more like.
So wait a second. So let's. Okay. So who says? How do we prove that they are? That there are?
You prove that there are malachim.
Right. Okay.
Either if you saw them. They had some interaction with the physical world, and when they had this interaction with the physical world, let's say when the angels came to Abraham, they had a physical interaction with this world, and Abraham saw them. Or the Melech saw the angels came down to the Haradayim. So that's so the same thing with Redeem. Some of the actually saw them. So that's proof that there is.
But how do we know? How do we know that there were?
Or else, if you don't actually see them, you see the things that they did, and you might have a special belief from somewhere that you trust that this is the result of Shadim.
But how do we know that when the Gemara speaks about Shadim, that there were actually Shadim and they weren't talking about?
That were, but then like Shimon ben Gamliel, somebody killed the head one, and then they stopped.
How do we know?
Well, it's a matter of belief. It's a matter of belief. Like as a matter of fact, Rambam in Bukhim, I think he says that a lot of these stories about angels were just halamot.
Right. Why does he say that?
Because he was just like the Gemara says, he was influenced by philosophy. Which maintains that Aristotelian philosophy maintains that if you can't see something, it's not there.
What about so that's for sure what the Rambam actually.
That's what the Rambam says about a lot of these stories in the Torah about angels. They were just halamot.
So it's not possible because it's not possible that someone other than the Gemara disagrees with that assessment.
Everybody disagrees. I mean, not everybody disagrees.
So everyone, that's the status quo that everyone thinks.
I don't know. I don't know what the numbers are. And it's not a matter of numbers, because the truth is not determined by how many people believe in it.
I'm saying that but when the Rambam was saying it, did he think that he was just being influenced by Aristotle and other?
I doubt that he probably thought that he was thinking correctly. I assume so. I can't. I'm not inside his mind to say 100%, but I would just assume that Rambam believed that his way of thinking was correct.
Can I just interject one thing? Sure. Don't we have a belief that there were Shadim and then like Shimon ben Gamliel or somebody in the Gemara killed the head shade and then that was it for them?
We say a few. There's
So why don't we do that and then we'll all agree there's no more. And
they give you a way to they give you an eight on how to see it.
Doesn't work.
The Rambam doesn't help that.
Ashmedai was the head, right?
What about? You could also say that all the Ashkenazim, the same way Ashkenazim say that the Rambam.
Okay,
Wait, I want to get the same way Ashkenazim. Well, not Ash. I want to. Why not? The same way Ashkenazim say, or many Ashkenazim say about people that were in Provence or Sephardim in general, that they had a more like philosophical edge to their theories. Why can't you also say, on the other hand, that Ashkenazim are completely the opposite, that we're very into the truth of the word and don't want to even come up, not even think that it is possible that it is a metaphor.
Wait. That's a great possibility. As a matter of fact, that's one of the problems. That's one of the problems I have with Lubavitch. Because Lubavitchers believe that whatever Menachem Schneerson said, that's it. No ifs, ands, or buts. And I never can accept that.
Why?
Because who's he?
He's a rabbi.
What,
He's a rabbi. I don't
you tell
believe
me.
this business.
So what did they? What does Lubavitch? Meaning, what does Lubavitch
They're
think?
quoting a Chabad rabbi.
What is
Because
Lubavitch?
I'm willing to listen to what he has to say and give it fair consideration,
Okay.
fair and honest consideration, but I'm not willing to accept it on blind faith.
You think Lubavitch is just having blind faith? There's
From
no.
what I've seen, most of them have blind faith, yeah. Maybe not all of them, but most
I don't
of
know.
them.
It's hard for me to find. There are not that many Lubavitchers that just have blind faith. Look for yourself. Learn what the Rebbe was saying and think, okay, does this make sense? Like,
Okay,
and then
so
you'll
do
see.
you know any Lubavitchers who learned through the Sikhot and they came to the conclusion that the Rebbe made a mistake on this particular issue?
Yeah, and then they left Lubavitch.
A mistake.
I have a question.
I mean, there's. I don't know. If
I have a question.
I
Let me
don't
ask
think
you-
they're just. They're,
Let me ask you-
that would be hard to find. That would be hard to find. So a mistake.
Yeah, we're not.
A mistake in what? In what? In like if it would make sense.
The
I mean,
other
it could be
Hasidim
that.
learn Yiddish. We don't understand what they're saying because Chabad is open enough that.
Let me know. Let me know. What,
I didn't think question should ask him.
right, because he wants to, because he is right. Like
Okay, so that's blind faith.
that's blind faith.
You said
I was learning. I'm learning. I learned what he's saying. Like I don't see.
Have you ever learned something you disagree with?
Yeah.
I mean, disagreed, of course. What do you mean? Like every time, you know how many times the Rebbe says by Farbrengen said that he doesn't understand why people didn't ask on what he said the last week. Why that this doesn't that what he's saying disagrees with that, and then like towards the later years, there were many times that there's till today there's pamphlets that people print up their 2 cents about what the Gemara, what the Rebbe is saying, anything, and they think, okay, so this maybe if we, even there's so many times that they can't come up with a solution, and it doesn't make sense to them, and then someone else says, well, but what about this, and it brings up a conversation. Like, I don't see that as an issue. That's Torah. What do you mean? It's important. It needs to be understood. It can't just be taken as blind faith.
So let's do Chazar. What have we learned so far?
Well, I just had a question about something you said before. But
If you have a cut on your head, don't
I mean,
go to
that's
the-
blind faith.
No, wait, can I ask you a question about Ashkenazim? I know Ashkenazim have a tradition, but
I don't know. Like the Rebbe very much wants Torah to be understood. Like it needs to be real. Like that's the whole Chabad. Like that's the Aleph base of Chassidus. If there's anything to be taken from what the Rebbe, like the Rebbe could easily just say, go to Timbuktu. That no questions asked. Like just go. Like how many times does the Rebbe say like the reason for that it makes sense, not just for your neshama, but like for even in your understanding, and even it's good for your own life. Like any letter in Igris, it's all over. He could easily say, if someone's going to ask a question to the Rebbe, someone goes to ask a question to the Rebbe, obviously he's going to do what the Rebbe asks, what the Rebbe answers. It makes sense because he's asking. And if it's not, then the Rebbe could say, well, why are you asking me in the first place? But no, it's like many times in the Rebbe's letters, he actually explains how, yes, it is good, not just, and not even if the person doesn't even ask if it's going to be good for his own well-being, psychologically or emotionally or family-wise, the Rebbe could easily say that, no, I'm the Rebbe, do what I like and good. And take it or leave it. I'm telling you what to do and good. And if you don't, whatever, go find someone else to ask. But no, what are you talking about? Every time.
Did he send shluchim?
There were Jews
Yes,
there.
I don't know if there is such a place as Timbuktu.
I like what the.
I mean, there was. They used to say going to Honolulu, and there is a shliach in Honolulu.
There you go.
Kranziansky is a shliach.
Let's learn a piece of.
So I don't know. Okay. So, but I think this is also. I think you need to say, Asher. You would need to say brachas Torah by such a conversation. This is also very much. But I think it's a big misconception about. I mean, if someone could even think, I don't know. I guess. I mean.
Like
maybe people don't explain,
us.
and if people do have blind faith about the Rebbe, maybe that means that they need to go and learn. They need to understand it and make it that they actually understand it. Torah can't just be that I believe it's of course it's important to believe in Hashem, but it's also important. There's also a mitzvah to love Hashem and fear Hashem and understand Hashem to however much as possible. That's the same Torah says that. So it can't just. For sure, there is faith on to a certain extent, and there's faith that goes higher than understanding. Like even Moshe Rabbeinu, his greatest feat was just to understand as much as possible. But even Moshe Rabbeinu need to be told by Hashem that to be quiet. This is what Hashem decrees, because there's a level of belief that's even higher. But still, there needs to be understanding to however much as possible. Okay, so let's get. But that's a whole. I don't know. I think I explained it as much as I could. So I don't know if it's important.
I think it's very interesting what the Magen of Rashbach says.
Right. Okay, so the well, we have 9 minutes. Okay, so let me just say let me go through as much as possible. Instead of going through the Hebrew, I'll try to explain the crux of the issues. Okay, so first of all, we see that we're not allowed to give karbanis to Shaidim. Okay, so take that as face value. Let's first say that they are Shaidim, because even though it says Seirim means goat or means fear. So, but let's take it at face value that we're talking about Shaidim, we're talking about demons. So if the Torah says to not give karbanis to demons, does that really mean does that mean that demons have to exist? It just means that we can't give karbanis to demons. That doesn't mean that there are demons. That just means that people believed in demons in Mitzrayim. That's the whole thing with goats. With we had to give a Korban Pesach was on the goat. Was that was their idol. One of their idols was the goat, because goats are what are looked at, like we see in somewhere here, that if someone is not someone's meshuga, then when he sees a demon, it looks like a goat. He thinks that he sees a goat. So therefore, the Mitzrayim believed in goats, and therefore, when the Yidden Hashem told the Yidden to give a karban specifically on a goat, to kill this idol.
I want to ask a question. Isn't there a Messiah, or do you believe that the morale formed or created with a shape? Because he didn't have the power of speech. I mean, that some Ashkenazim believe in. It's generally taken as whether it's true or not.
Why not? I'm not saying.
They say it was a shade. Yeah, with the brother. Yeah.
Wow.
So what?
I'm.
Kadima.
I was explaining the ones that say that it's all a metaphor. Really, I could have explained it the other way around, that it's very real. And what on earth? Why are you trying to find metaphors? It says in the Gemara. Why on earth? Like, how are we going to just say that everything we could say anything's a metaphor? So what? Somehow this is a metaphor, and therefore, and just because we don't see it, therefore it's not true. If we see in Gemara, I mean, these are very sane people. Like, what are they? We have to go and try to break our teeth to find that all of these different things are all metaphors. Why not just say it's real? And it's fine. And we don't see it. We do see it. Either way, the Torah for sure says we don't worship them, even if they're true. Even if they're real, we still don't worship them. And there's a few reasons why we don't worship them. Either because they just don't exist, and therefore, what's the point of worshiping that don't exist? But anyways, right? But because either we could say because they're real, and so Torah needs to make sure that we don't, or we could say that they didn't exist in the first place. Yes, people believed in them. Yes, we could say. It's not a metaphor that people believed in them. Yes, people do believe in them now, believed in them back then, and Torah, and especially in Mitzrayim, and therefore Torah was at this point of time. We're talking about the whole thing about in Vayikra was talking about that we need to bring a karban in Beis Hamikdash. So one of the biggest reason why someone wouldn't do in the Beis Hamikdash would make babama was because to do it for to give a carbon for the shadim, for the mazikin. So therefore, so let's get that's that we see from this pasuk, it could either be one way or the other way. Okay, so that's one.
Let me say one thing. If we believe that there's a mitzvah to kill all witches, we have a mitzvah to kill. You should not let a witch amongst you. Means that we believe that there are people who are able to bend the rules of nature. Possible.
Or they think they can.
Well, then if these people are mentally ill, let them live.
I think somebody doesn't Avodah Zarah.
Don't let them live because
Avodah Zarah has no power. Yet somebody is doing Avodah Zarah.
There is something to it. They're able to bend the rules of nature. So there is something. Otherwise, they're mentally ill.
Right. So here we see that the Ramban. Number 7, he says that the reason why there's no point they don't have power. The shadim don't have power. What? Why? Because there's no point. There's no point of. There's no point in speaking to them, because even if you speak to them, yes, they might tell you the future, but only in the very near future. This is the Ramban saying it's very near. They have power to tell you because they know the near future. But by the time they tell you, it's already the present. So there's no point in asking, because they're not telling you anything anyway. Okay. So that's the Ramban. So then, so the Radak says, and the Rabbi, they are actually the Rabbi has a one of the craters in the moon is named after the Ralbag. So he was also in he was into astronomy. Okay, so the Radak says the reason why they're called Seirim, the reason why Shadim are called Seirim, because they look like goats to the ones that believe in them, the ones that believe in them. So, which means so for the ones that believe in them, so that's who the Radak is talking about. So then the Ralbag says they are just when it says in brachos, there's a brachos. Like when we started off, we said I asked, are there demons or no demons? So someone said, what do you mean? Gemara talks about demons all the time. So great. So that's a good observation, obviously, that the Gemara constantly talks about it. So one of the places in the brachos, number 9, it says that someone that sees, if one person sees a demon, then the demon's gonna hurt them. If there are two people that see them, then they won't be. If there are 3, then they won't even see them in the first place. So the Rabbi says, so this.
What does that mean? The shadim won't see the people?
No,
the people won't even see them.
If there's 3 of them, that what?
If there's 3 people, then the shadim won't appear to them.
So what's the whole?
The whole reason is because
in the basement when you fill up the windows, something, leave a little crack or something. Shade in.
Yeah, because if it was a window, you have to leave some hole there, so because that's they used to go in and
We
out.
do it today. That's
right.
Why the basement? She by the front door.
No, it's not the basement. I don't know this.
There's also halachas like when you have abandoned buildings because of shadim and like cemeteries and lights.
Okay, I don't understand this part. Okay. There's another thing. There's another explanation that mazikim are really talking, meaning mazikim or shadim are really talking about the Yetzer Hara. When it says that when we learn in Pirkei Avos that one of the things that were created on Erev Shabbos Bein Hashmoshes was, it says V'yash Oimrim Af HaMazikim, that the Mazikim were also created Bein Hashmoshes. So the Meiri explains that this is talking this Mishnah is talking about the Yetzer Hara. And the reason why is because Hashem already mentioned about the whole 6 days of creation that everything is done for the good. So the reason, but the Yetzer Hara And the Yetzer Hara, even though it's good, it also has some evil. The good part is that when someone has he cares about himself, he has passion and things like that, so then he's going to actually do something, he's going to get married, he's going to want to perfect the world, because even if it's for his own, even for his own good, which seems more like a Yitzhar, more like a Nefesh HaMahamis, meaning caring more about himself, so that's good, even though it could also bring someone to do something not good, obviously. So that is the Bein HaKodesh. So therefore, they're called mazikim because it hurts. Even though there's something good about Yitzhar, it could also hurt. So therefore, it's called mazikim. So the Meiri also says that. Actually, another thing interesting, something that just happened recently. We have Leil Shimurim. We have the first night of Pesach. We have Leil Shimurim. So that is really coming from the Gemara, where it talks about that you need arba kaises. We have four cups of wine. So the Gemara, well, what are you talking about? 4 cups of wine? Don't we know that the demons come in when they see pairs, when they see even numbers, they go nuts and they come and start hurting people? Don't we know that? So the Gemara says, oh, no big deal. This is Leil Shimurim. This is the night of that Hashem keeps us safe. Keeps us safe from what? Keeps us safe from Mazikin, from the demons. So therefore, there's no reason.
Both nights.
Right. That's actually, why shouldn't it be both nights? That's a good question. Good question.
Say Shema on the say Hamlach on the second night.
Right. And then actually by Kriya Shema Shalamita, a lot of Kriya Shema Shalamita is about demons. Whatever is actually talking about demons, and those parts we don't say on Leil Shimurim. So the Meiri says, what are you talking about? We're really talking about demons. It's just this whole Gemara is it's actually funny. He's talking about that there's that. The Meiri says that the Gemara was really talking. There was a whole bunch of Talmidei Chacham. They were saying, okay, we're supposed to have arba cases because of the four psukim, the 4 ways of how the Torah explains going out of Mitzrayim. So therefore, because of that, we have 4 cases. And that's true. But then someone thinks, oh, but what are people going to think? People are worrying about demons, and they think that there's peers, this whole issue with peers. So what are we going to tell them? So we're going to say, oh, no big deal, it's Leil Shimurim, okay. But really, the Meiri says, the Talmidei Chachamim didn't believe in them. It's just that it was the culture. They just believed in that. So therefore, they had to say something. But it's not that they really believed. And they didn't complain. They didn't say that, oh, it's not true. Because what are they going to argue with them? They'll just find some explanation to quiet that issue down, so that it's taken, so that it's still taken care of. Okay. So then comes the Rambam. Comes the Rambam. He says in Moreh Nevuchim, he says that when it says that Adam RIshon, it took many years till he finally after Chiti Tadas, there were many years that he didn't have children like himself, till finally he had children with Musik Ketzalma, children like himself. So what is it? So in Gemara it says in the Gemara it seems to mean that there were times that there was that Adam gave birth. Adam had children that were, one of them types were Shaden. Hoylid Ruchin, the Shaden, the Lilin, like a Lilis. That's one of those. Yeah. Yeah. So, but Musik Ketzalma. So the Moreh Nevuchim says. So the Rambam says that no, we're talking about human. There are different types of humans. There's humans that are like animals, and humans that are like humans. There are humans that are like animals. That person doesn't use their head and don't use their heart. They don't have control over anything, and therefore they act out. And even though they have human capabilities, but they're able to do such horrible things and be horrible to other people.
and even though they're humans, but they act like animals. So they're not Ketzalmi, like the Tselem. They're not like exactly like Adam was before the Chet Yetzer.
One of the things that separates humans from animals, the animals generally have don't exhibit the characteristics of shame. They'll make in the street. Animals don't have shame.
Interesting. Besides a cat, right? You could learn shame from a cat. I think that's what it says. Right.
Yes.
Right. Actually, there's another thing about the shadim. Something special about the shadim is that they Okay. So let's finish that. So then the Gra says, what's the Rambam saying? He's really saying that there's no such thing, that all the shadim is all just a metaphor, that it's all about a person's demons inside him, and they're not real. How could you say that about the whole Gemara? And really, the whole reason is just because the Rambam was influenced by the evil thinkers, and therefore he came up with he was influenced by them, and therefore he had to come up with such answers. Thinking like, oh, it must be that all these things are metaphors because I don't see them. It doesn't make sense. So the Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky answers, writes about this, and he says, well, that's a good. Like, how could it be that the Rambam would say such a thing? I should have answered this right away. Sorry, should have answered for the Rambam. I just reminded myself. So Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky said that the Rambam, the reason why the Rambam said that there weren't such demons is because in his time there were no demons, and if anything, if he would have seen. This is my 2 cents. If anything, he was a very holy person. So if there was anyone that was able to see, obviously he would be able to see. And if he doesn't see, so then they don't exist. So, but in the Gemara, and he was thinking that, well, if they don't exist now, so therefore they probably didn't exist in the Gemara. And now it says in the Gemara, so okay, so they were just metaphors, because it can't be that they were back then. Because if then, why wouldn't it be now? So Rabbi Kamenetsky says that probably it's because that anything, whenever there is, it's all over Tanya, that whenever there is a strength in the side of Kedusha, there's also the strength in the side of the opposite of Kedusha. So in the times of the Gemara, when the side of Kedusha was so strong that we have stories where this person created a Goylam, there's all these in Gemara, all these different things. So obviously, it must be that the other side also had so much power, and therefore the demons were very prevalent. But in the times of the later generations, when the side of Kedusha wasn't as strong, so therefore they weren't as prevalent, and therefore he didn't see them. That's why he didn't. It wasn't that he was being influenced by the philosophers, and therefore he wasn't saying he wasn't coming from a Torah view, so to speak. It can't be that. It was really just that it was a completely different time. This whole story that we see that it changed, that the Shadim moved away, were taken away. Really, we have that already by Rabbi Meir. In the Gemara, it says there was a shade that came over to him, and he said that he doesn't have he's annoyed or something, that he doesn't have any jurisdiction over Rabbi Meir. So Rabbi Meir says, well, if that's the case, then you don't ever come close to civilized society ever again. And that's what it says in the Gemara. So therefore, there were a few stories that there were a few times in later generations that when they heard about a demon, they said, well, they went over to the demons and told them that you shouldn't be in a civilized society. Go back away. That was by Rabbi Yoel Shem. This was actually a story written by the Folik Rebbe in his memoir, in his diary, which is taken really from a different story from Kabbalah Yasher, which has more details to the story.
But the Baal Shem Tov actually, the Minchas Elazar says that the Baal Shem Tov, the Baal Shem Tov at first used the part of the things that you would use for doing good things was using the demons, but then when he didn't have any use for them anymore, so then he told them to go to never come back anywhere close and to go away from society, right? Okay. Okay, so what does there's the whole other story we see actually in Shas Chuvas. We see that there's till many years, not that long ago, there were stories where there was a woman that was caught sleeping with somebody else while she was married, and she said that it was a demon. And there was actually Chuvas saying, okay, so what do we do? Is it really Ishes Ish? Because if it's a behema, then it's not Ishes. Then it's not Ishes Ish. It needs to be
still death penalty.
Right, but not that.
No, so violent.
Right. So therefore, what do we do? So on one, there are Gemaras that say that in certain aspects they're like human. They're like a.
That happened yesterday, actually. That happened yesterday. Talked about that.
Right.
What?
Right.
That happened yesterday. We'll discuss it
right here. Okay. It's funny, actually. There's a website called Sfaria.org. Very good website.
Yeah.
So I searched demons, like hashtag demons on their website, and it came up in English, and I printed out all these pages, all just from one word, all these different all Gemaras and RIshon Achronim, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to read these, and it's 9 pages, but then I'll know everything that it has to say, everything in Mamar Chazal, and then I realized that there's many dots. And then I realized that it's only the beginning of the quote. So really, it's many more
on the
pages.
paper, hit more.
Right. And then, I just realized that last night. I was like, okay, I'll read it during Shabbos. And I realized, no. This is
Not Shabbos.
No, okay. No, I mean the printed out thing. Okay, so what does Chassidus have to say? I mean, we see about Mazikin. We already spoke about Mazikin, and let me see if there's anything else to say. I think we said it. So I think what it boils down to, that if you're more of a superstitious type of person, there's space for you in Torah, and you still need to put on tefillin. And if you're very into your brain and you think you have to understand everything, and if you don't understand, therefore it doesn't exist, and everything needs to be rational, there's space for you also to put on tefillin. So either way,